Hello, my name is Erica Baxter, and I'll be providing a critique speech on the film Joker. The purpose of my critique is to analyze the film's impact on mental health awareness and the controversy of associated violence that the film chose to portray. Um, I believe the attention getter, one of the biggest attention getters, is the opening scene, and you can really, there's not any words said. The character sitting in front of a vanity mirror with a distorted clown face paint on, and you can feel the despair. You can see it in his face. You can see the sadness. He's staring into the mirror, and you can tell that he's desperately trying to evoke some sort of expression of happiness or joy. He struggles, continues to struggle, and he's unable to do that. So he actually takes his hands so he can physically portray a smile on his face. And that right there is one of the biggest attention getters, and it evokes empathy and sadness, and you begin to understand that obviously this character struggles with some debilitating depression, which is a definite mental illness. The film goes on, and about 20-30 minutes into the film, the character Arthur Fleck is meeting with his social worker, and they are discussing his use of journal writing as a form of treatment for his mental illness, which is never actually said. But the film, before you're able to view what is in his journal, the film switches to his journal, and it's a little unfocused. But what you can see is that the character's handwriting is that of an elementary student. And so that immediately continues that feeling of sadness and empathy for this character. And one of the things that he writes, and the film begins to focus in, is he says, "I hope my death makes more sense than my life." And so at that very moment, you're absolutely grasped in and attached to this character and able to understand that he's got more severe depression and more mental illness than I believe this film is going to begin to portray. So it really is a good attention getter and opener to the film. And the film, the actor Joaquin Phoenix does such a great job at portraying this character. His performance was widely praised, and his acting ability was so raw, and it made this character feel completely authentic. It really made you feel that Joaquin Phoenix was actually, Arthur Fleck was actually the character. And one of the ways that he did that was he was able to produce this inappropriate laughter at inappropriate times. And the film does explain why the character does burst out into inappropriate laughter. But what was impressive is Joaquin Phoenix's performance and his ability to be able to transform that at any given moment. He really stayed in character. He didn't divert, and you really could feel that throughout the film. Some did say, and I do somewhat agree, that the film did completely rely on Joaquin Phoenix's performance as the character to carry the film. There were very little supporting actors, and they weren't really developed, and you didn't get to know any of the supporting actors. So the film was completely about Arthur Fleck, and it completely relied on Joaquin Phoenix's ability to portray Arthur Fleck. It was so much so that he actually won the Academy for Best Actor for this film. And the other criticism that I do have about this film is its use of controversial violence. As the character begins to transform from victim to villain, there's use of graphic violence, and a lot of it was very difficult to watch. The actual transformation was quite violent, to be honest, and some felt that the violence was depicted as a form of rebellion or even kind of redemption. the first half of the film depicted the character as being, he was quite taunted with. He was just really almost traumatized by how society treated him because of his mental illness. It was very apparent in his behavior, in his demeanor. And so some critics did feel like this was a depiction of his redemption from that, or rebellion. And going forward, a lot of discussion was sparked that this could ignite some real world rebellion or violence in this similar manner. Unfortunately, mental illness, if it's untreated, can produce a violent behavior, unpredictable behavior. And I think that was maybe some of the mental health community or social work community did have some concerns that this could be igniting some of that or instigating some of that behavior. The critics were concerned about some copycat behavior, and as this film was compared to Clockwork Orange, which had similar violent content. And some actually say, and I do agree with this, some actually believe that the violence was important to the development of character for Joker in the upcoming Batman series. And so I do agree with that. I'm not sure all of the violence was important, but I do believe that some of it was important to develop. And going forward, the film forced viewers to confront mental illness truths and a lot of violence that could be associated if these illnesses are not treated. And the main points here of the film was Joaquin Phoenix's stellar performance and his ability to portray Arthur Fleck's character, and the additional controversial violence.